5th, 2022. Do we need to do a roll call, Dale?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Okay. I guess.
I'll go,
Just
yeah, I'll
say
go
your
ahead.
name.
I'll go ahead and
Okay.
do it since I'm keeping the minutes.
Okay.
Katie Miller's
Present.
and Dr. Grush and
Present.
Kevin Sombart
Present.
and Tina Clark Scott
Present.
and Cintron Felder
Present.
and Lexi O'Brien.
Present.
And Mayor, I see you. So
And Eric Hayes.
I miss Eric. Eric, are you here?
I'm present.
All right, very good. Thanks.
Right. Well, welcome everybody. The first thing on our agenda tonight is to review and approve the minutes from our previous meeting, which was November 23rd, 2021. Upon review, does anybody have any changes? And usually that means Kevin might have some.
Oh, no, everything looked great. It was very short minutes, so.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Kevin moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, guys. Okay, well, we are very happy. I think Cintron was at our last meeting in November, but that was a really fast, we had something to take care of. And so I don't think we got a good chance to really see each other. I know I was on the phone and not on, not on Zoom. So I'm hoping we could just introduce all of ourselves to each other and maybe share what brought you to this work on the PCEB. So maybe Scott, how about you start?
Right. Yeah, I'm Scott Gresh. I have been here since the beginning, the PCEB. I was partly volunteered, but it sounded like a good thing to volunteer for by a friend, and have been happy to think about the topics we've discussed and learned a lot along the way. So it's been great. And of course, I'm the physician member that's part of the rules that were set up in the original that we just approved. That's pretty much it.
All right, thanks, Scott. Do you have a volunteer for next?
I'll go. I'm Kevin Sombart. I've been a Webster resident for over 30 years. And I grew up in a political family and always felt it was important to give back to the community that you really love to be in. And I thought this was a good opportunity to use some of my skill set, organizational skill set and communication skill set to come up with some ideas on how to improve the engagement between the police department and the Webster Groves community at large. So I was the first chairman, and we got off to a good start, but it's taken us a while to get our feet on the ground. But I think that we've made good progress, and COVID kind of wrecked that progress for a while. And hopefully we'll get out of this in more ways than one, but that we can move forward to really do what we're charged to do. So this is a great group. And I don't know, I think I've met Lexi before, but I didn't know anything about Cintron, but everyone else that's been on the board and Tina, it's just a wonderful group to work with. So I'm very pleased to be here. So.
Thanks, Kevin. Maybe Eric, since you're another original, do you want to go next?
Okay, I'm Eric Hayes. I'm the pastor of Old Community Missionary Baptist Church, 238 Kirkham Avenue. I also I'm here from Inception, kind of, I would say, invited, I think, by Mayor Welsh. We have been talking, and I thought it was good for me to be a part of this group, especially not living in Webster, but pastoring in Webster and having congregants from Webster, I thought it would be good to be a part of this committee, whereas I could share with our congregation what was going on and what they need to be involved in as far as engaging with the police and the board, and to put aside some of the negative thoughts that were going on about the relationship with the police and the community. And so being a part of this committee and this board helped me to be able to do that.
Thanks, Eric. Tina, do you want to go next?
Sure. Pardon me because I don't feel good this evening, so that's why I look the way that I do. But again, I am Tina Clark Scott, and I am a representative from the Webster Grove School District. I am the Director of Student Services, and I'm new to this committee. What I will say is that it does interest me. I've been in education for 25 plus years. I've just been a public servant. I've been, my husband of 37 years was a former St. Louis County police officer. And so this is of interest to me. And so I'm happy to serve in any way I can.
Thank you. And I guess since I'm another oldie, I'll go and then we'll have our new folks. I'm Katie Miller. I've been on the PCEB since the beginning. Also, I'm a therapist in private practice. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and my specialty is grief and loss. And so as this was coming together, and I was, of course, noticing what was happening in the news with interactions, not just in, actually not even particularly in our community, but in communities at large with police across, St. Louis and the country. I just noticed how much trauma and grief were a part of what impacted those interactions. And so there's also on our charge, there's a mental health professional that is asked for to be on this committee. And so that's how I got involved. I was interested in that aspect of it, and I have found it very gratifying. Yet I will say I am not interested in continuing to be the chairperson. So if any of our new members are interested in this leadership role, I'm just an interim leader. That's, I want to repeat that. So,
But a good one.
Well, thanks, Jerry.
Very good one. Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so that's my story. So then maybe Centron, do you want to go?
Sure. My name is Centron Felder, and after being raised as a military child and then a 20-year military career, we settled here in St. Louis. And so I've been here about 7 years now, I think. And this is the first opportunity that I've had to, really be part of a community. Of course, there's a military community, but it's very different than this. And so I was excited to find opportunities and ways to leverage my experience in the service leadership and some military leadership experience, law enforcement experience, and leverage it against, somehow helping the community. So this opportunity came up for a colleague, I'm sure many of you know, or all of you know, he presented this to me, and I thought, it's a good opportunity for me to start my, trek in being a community member. And so I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to work with all of you and looking forward to doing some good things.
Thanks, Centron. Okay, and Lexi, our newest member.
Good evening, Lexi O'Brien. I'm also a 30-year resident, so I know we have some old timers here. Raised a couple kids who attended Webster Grove schools. I'm a professional in marketing and communications, and I work at Washington University. And I'm now at a point in my life that I have more bandwidth, and I was looking for opportunities to serve the community. And I'm very interested in community safety, wellness. I've been involved with some unhoused outreach groups and have just gained a lot of awareness over the last few years of ways that we can make our community, safer for everyone. So I'm excited to be part of the group.
Thank you. Welcome. And then Mayor Welch, do you want to say, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I think this is a great group. I've been with you since the beginning of this group. And the opportunities that we have as a group to increase the relationship between the community and the police department would be very valuable to this community. So yeah, we have work to do and looking forward to working with each of you.
Thanks, Mayor. And Chief Curtis, do you have anything you want to add?
Not a whole lot other than as most of you know, and for the new members, I'm mainly here as a facilitator. It's your board. There are some times where I'd like to provide you with some information, maybe it's unsolicited. For the most part, I'm here to try and facilitate your work to help you out. Anytime you have questions or concerns, either in the meetings or whether it's outside the meeting, just give me a call and let me know, and I will do the best I can to get you the information and provide whatever we can from the police department. And our goal is to be as transparent as possible and make sure that we connect with the community.
All right, thanks. So it's good to have everybody together. I think we might still be down one member. Am I right
Yeah,
about
a
that?
business owner, I think.
Yeah.
Down.
We're also down a student representative. And
Yes, we are.
Dr.
Yep.
Scott, if you could help us with that. What had happened before was, excuse me, the representative from the school district was able to find someone, a student that was on the board. And it would be helpful if you know someone or you could solicit someone for us to do that. It's a non-voting member, but I think it still would be good to have them in attendance if we could.
I can do that.
I wonder if through the Chelsea Center, that would be a way to find somebody. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. I can reach out to Carrie.
Yeah. So it's wonderful to have our feeling more robust again with people here. So we don't have a big agenda tonight. The first thing is just an update that Centron, you were part of this, like kind of thrown in November. We had worked a long time on updating our ordinance, because I think when was the ordinance first done? 3 years ago or 4 years ago?
Three.
So we worked with some community groups, including the Alliance, to update some language and make our ordinance more reflective of the actual work that we've been doing since this is a new board for the city council, and got that language finally together, approved it for our board in November, and then that's been submitted to city council, and then they're going to take a look at it in a work session. And my understanding is that they will be looking at that and hopefully approving it February 15th. Am I right about that?
It could be. You know, we've had so many critical pieces to deal with, especially with that development and a few other things. And the work of this board has really not been affected by, it's not been held back by the ordinance. So we're okay. We passed, we got rid of the sunset clause, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think-
So
I think
in
we-
other words, there's a lot that the city council is looking at. They may not get to it at that meeting. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
I think I talked to the city manager, Mayor, and she's going to try and get it on the work session agenda for the meeting on the 15th.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
As the mayor said, there are a lot of items, so something might bump it, but right now the plan is for it to be on the work session, which is a discussion before it actually is heard in as an ordinance before the council.
Okay. So we'll hear more. Our next meeting will be in February after that. So we'll know more at that time. So the next item on our agenda is an update from Chief Curtis about Webster Groves Police Department.
I don't have a lot of update other than hopefully you've noticed that we are in a hiring process. So if you are aware of someone or can help us out, as always, we're trying to do our best to recruit from minorities and from females. It's difficult to recruit any good candidate in the current environment, but that's always our goal, is to try and have a pool that's diverse and try to get some good candidates from that. We have a new officer that just started last week. And we have a new officer, Tasia Fairley, who will be starting next week. So other than that, there's not a lot of updates. I emailed Katie. I'd like maybe just take a brief part of the next meeting to kind of go over some ground that we've already done for members who are there, but for the newer members, just to kind of maybe familiarize you with some of the department policies, procedures, why we do things, how we do things, and then answer some questions if there are any.
I think that sounds good. Kevin?
Chief Carter, didn't you have a hire in the fall too? A new hire. I think I met the new officer.
We've had 6 hires. this
6
year,
hires. Okay.
but I believe that the board had meetings for all except for the last 2 hires.
Okay.
The other candidate that started last week is actually in the St. Louis County Municipal Police Academy. So they will not be on the street working as an officer until they graduate. I think it's June 26th. They have like 6 months of training.
Kate, I think Lexi had her hand up.
Yeah, Katie, I'm using my Robert's Rules cheat sheet here. Point of inquiry. Chief Curtis, are there any documents that you shared before about the policies and procedures? I would be happy to do some homework on my own. So if that could be shared, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
There may have been a couple of policies and procedures that I gave to the board. Yes, you have.
One or two.
I gave all the members a complete manual for policies and procedures. There's about 400 of them. And
There's the thumb drive right there.
I can't send it in an email. But I actually, what I can try and do is get them to you, delivered to your house maybe, but they'll be on a thumb drive because it's just, there's too much on the file to put through an email.
That would be wonderful. Would you like me to send my address in the chat or?
I
Send
have
you an
everyone's
email.
address on the board. So
Okay.
for the new members who haven't been given that information, I will try and get it to you next week.
Thank you.
There's a lot of policies. There's several policies that are actually on the website too. So, so when we get to that point, I'd like to share my screen actually and kind of go through that when we get to that point.
All right. I was thinking maybe we could do that like next meeting. I don't want to keep everybody here.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of show the links
Right.
that are existing on our landing page right now for
Yeah.
those attendees that are out there. So
Those are there. Some of the
Yeah.
critical policies, some of the things that were of biggest concern and that were focused on during the past year when there was some concerns about use of force, deadly use of force. The 8 pillars that people were concerned about, which we have policies on all of those. Those are all on the website, so you can actually access those right now. But like I said, as far as the manual goes, it's quite a bit of material, and I can get all that to you.
Great, thanks, Chief. So given that, I figured the bulk of what we wanted to talk about tonight was sort of an initial brainstorm or initial ideas of planning for 2022 for the board. Some things that we kind of listed out, community groups to engage, and survey. And I know, Lexi, you emailed me a question about the survey as it stands right now, so we can talk about that. Listening session for Webster University students, a second one, because we did that. When was that, Scott, that you did in August last year?
Yeah, I think so. I'd have to look back at the calendar. It just was well received, I think, by everybody. So like that to be a annual event, I think.
Right. And then, like you were saying, Kevin, talk about the landing page and then any other ideas that people want to make sure that we at least start to consider and plan for as we're looking at this year ahead. So, so I don't know, I just want to open the floor. I guess we'll start with community groups that we have yet to engage and that would be important for us to try to see if we can get into share with and listen to.
Have we hit all those groups we initially identified like there are a big 5 or 6? I don't think yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, we got to 2,
Yeah,
3 actually.
3.
Yeah,
Okay.
3.
And-
Yeah, Webster Rotary Club and then the Alliance twice. So, but is
And
Pastor Hayes
events?
is the North Webster Coalition, are they're probably not meeting again yet, are they?
I'm sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say they're back to Zooming.
They're back to Zooming?
Mhm.
I would anticipate, I mean, I don't know, Scott, you can probably speak to this more, but I would think that a lot will open up once the weather's warmer again, and I think the numbers will go down. So like April, May, June might be a good time. I know
Yeah,
some
the
organizations take,
numbers-
sorry, Scott, go ahead.
No, it's all right. The numbers are clearly going down right now. I'm watching them every day in the community. I really think we're on the downslope easily. So I would anticipate over these coming weeks, things to start to open up more. So hopefully by spring, we should be able to be looking forward to setting things up in person, spring into early summer.
I would think North Webster Coalition would be probably, one of the first places as soon as we're able to, that, I think that would be a priority. I see you nodding, Kevin. You
Mhm.
guys,
I totally agree. I mean, we talked about they were like first on the list when we first met, and it didn't work out because of COVID, really. I mean, when we were first getting things going, boom. But the other place I would like to re-engage again with Webster University students, and I'd like to engage somehow with the Tina with the Webster Groves High School students. They weren't on the original list. I can't believe they weren't on the original list, but they weren't. So
What's the purpose of, is this to introduce them to the board or?
yes, the
well,
two
and we got to
things,
figure out a lot of that, what the purpose is too. So
well, initially, or what we've done in the past was it's an introduction to who we are, but also listening what feedback do these groups have about interactions with the police, impressions of the police, questions that they have. Sometimes I think at a couple we've had police officers there, at least the ones that I've been to with the Alliance. And then we've had this survey that's been available as well that we've given out. And I think Centron, you and Lexi probably don't have copies of the survey, I'm guessing. Do you? So we need to get that to you.
Just my initial thought about it when I hear the organizations that you're going to, and then you move down to high school or college and high school, I would suggest to you that it's never too early for police engagement. So elementary students that see police officers in the positive light grow up and may want to become police officers. If you wait till they're in high school, college, you'll get some, but much far fewer than if we can get to them early, even if it's a passive meeting where they just are able to see the police officers and talk to them and realize that they're not scary people.
I think that's great. Centron and Kevin, I think let's make sure that that's, I guess, Tina, we would be working with you, and I see your hand up too, Mayor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Centron has a really good point, that maybe we ought to think about not necessarily taking a survey through, but finding some ways that the police officers can be there and engage with elementary school students, Boy Scout troops. I mean, I get invited all the time to go and visit used to before the pandemic, with Boy Scout troops. And you would have an opportunity there for a police officer to engage with maybe 30 or 50 wild kids running around. It's great. Those kinds of places might really be a good thing. We have elementary schools, we have Holy Redeemer, we've got Annunciation, we have Mary Queen of Peace. Maybe the schools would be a good place for us to think about having a police officer connect with the school, see if there's some program that they could be a part of. But I like Centron's idea of reaching out to some of these younger generations and establishing that relationship. Thank you.
We, just so you're aware, and maybe you are, we engage in that pretty heavily actually at the middle school level. And we at the high school as well. What we haven't done as much of, but we do have done some of, is at the elementary school level. That probably is a place that we can increase it, certainly increase it more. But our SRO interacts daily with the students at Hickson, and we've had officers down there with him, and then we also had him with the officer at the high school to help facilitate that as well. So we do a lot of engagement and contact with students at the middle school level and the high school level, but we certainly can broaden that to the elementary level.
Do you
Well, it's
think that'll be valuable for us as a group to just have have them join us and have a quick piece on the agenda, that we would meet the SROs as a board?
Sure. We can certainly do that. We've had the COP officers and the supervise that unit. We can invite them to meet the board and, kind of maybe facilitate or explain what their role is and how they interact with the students and what they do on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
A question that
I'm sorry, let's go ahead.
Well, I guess a question that occurred to me was like, if we engage with the elementary schools or the Boy Scout troops or the police officers do, is it helpful? Is it not helpful if members of the PCEB are also present? Is it important? Is it not important? Because this could happen without our involvement. So I guess I'm just asking that as a question. I really don't have
I think it would probably be a positive thing. It would give you an opportunity to see how they do operate and maybe give you an idea give us an idea when you get some feedback on what you saw and what maybe we can improve on, or some things that we can do.
Okay, Kevin, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, because then we can report back to the board, through this open forum and kind of give an observation of what we, or give a description of what we observed, what the reaction was, and it increases the knowledge around the community that we exist. That's one of the important things, right?
Yep. Okay, Lexi, I saw your hand is up too.
I was curious if the school district has a master services agreement or something with the police department about what is the role of an SRO. I've just read that some school districts have done that.
Yes, we have a standing memorandum of operation that's in effect with the school district of what we do, how we do it, and what our role is, and what we're allowed to do, and what the school wants us to do, and also things that we shouldn't be doing. I mean, one of the things is, I don't want to say recently, but the school resource officers used to be involved somewhat in discipline at the schools. That's no longer the case. It hasn't been probably for the last, I guess, 6 or 7 years. We have a policy that officers wear body cameras, but the school district wasn't comfortable with us doing that. So the school resource officers do not have body cameras in the schools unless they're in uniform. So again, as part of the policies and everything, that's part of that package. The MOU is in there, so you can be able to see, specifically what their duties are on paper. But you don't really get a good feeling about the role unless you can see them, what they're actually doing and how they interact with the students. Our SRO, for instance, down at Hickson, who's been there for a while, just does an excellent job with all the students, and he relates well with them. He does well with the faculty, and it's just a good ambassador both for the police department and for the city.
Reverend Hayes.
Just want to add, talking about whether the board should be there or not. I think it's a good idea if that happens. But I didn't have a chance, I don't know why, because of COVID, but to thank Chief Dale. When we had our grill, the community, one thing that the children at our church really that stuck with them, and they still talk about it, was that one of your police officers, I don't know her name, it was a young lady. She played hopscotch with the kids and they just thought it was awesome. And to see her out there playing with them. And so it really made an impact on them.
Katie, if I can, just real quickly, I got a message here from Emerson. I don't know if you all saw it, but he was saying that the North Webster Coalition is planning their agenda for 2022. He's on the executive committee and can introduce you to the current president, who's Rosalind Croft.
Thanks, Emerson. That would be great. We'll take you up on it. So I know he can't respond, but okay. So it sounds like we have some energy around, and also we have to some degree versus other organizations, like a captive audience with our students in the district, and that might be a place that we could start working on right away and get some make some things happen before the end of the school year. Does that sound right, everybody?
Yeah.
Centron, did you have?
Oh, hope so.
Okay. Okay, so maybe I'm thinking the next steps would be reaching out to principals then? Is that?
Well,
Maybe
I will
start.
say, I was just going to say that maybe we would probably reach out to the SROs first, because there is really, they are actually doing a lot in schools right now. I've been in they teach classes, they do lessons, they pretty much do whatever, if something comes up and they're asked to teach a lesson on it, they are in classrooms doing those things. So there are a lot of things that are actually going on already. So maybe it would be a good idea to reach out to the SROs and maybe they can let us know exactly what they're already doing, because what you're asking for may already be going on.
Okay, good point. Chief Curtis, is that something that you would do, or what's the sort of
I can,
chain of communication?
I can certainly do that. I kind of have to know your availability or what dates and times and things that you're looking at for us to facilitate something like that.
So maybe a little bit of both then. So for example, if I talk to the principal at Avery and said, this is something we're thinking about doing, are there dates and times that would work on the schedule, or what would you have in mind? And then letting Dale, know, and seeing what the availability of an SRO would be.
Well, the SROs are going to be pretty much available just about any time you need them. They have their schedule is such that it's good in a way that they have the school schedule, so they catch some days off and they're not on nights, but otherwise they have to be pretty available around the clock for whatever the school activity is. So if we have an event or something that we would like for them to be at or need to be at, that's not a problem. The issue would be more when the board can get together, or it's always hard to get everybody together, but at least when the majority of people can attend something or be somewhere. I can certainly have both of the SROs touch base with the administrators at the school to let them know that the board's interested and see what kind of things that we could do and when we could do them, and then get back to you on that.
Right. And then I was thinking, like, so what, I'm not even sure it makes sense for us to set the agenda for what would happen at that. It seems like the school principal or the schools themselves should set the agenda if they're also interested.
Sure.
Okay. Scott and Centron, you both have your hands up.
I was wondering if maybe meeting those SROs by the next meeting and they can tell us what they're doing in the school, so we can leverage that now, use that knowledge to develop a program, because I'm wondering how we're going to show up at these schools. A great discussion, I hope, and develop that plan forward, as well as just the timing of when to do it.
Okay.
So in other words, inviting them to discuss with us.
I think that makes sense.
We can have, I can have them both at the next meeting.
Good.
That sounds good. Okay, Centron, you had something you wanted to add too?
Yeah, I don't want to add layers to this, but I would think, if I were the superintendent, I'd want to know what's going on in my schools. So I don't know if we would start there or start with the schools first, but certainly I think the district or the superintendent and his office should be made aware at a minimum.
Great.
We wouldn't do anything without the superintendent being aware of it.
I think that's good. Okay, good point. Thank you. All right, any other groups that we want to make sure to see, meet, survey in 2022?
I don't think it's too early to think about the summer. It'll be here before we know it. And when Eric Hayes talked about playing hopscotch with the kids, I mean, that was a wonderful outdoor event where there was some really nice interaction that occurred. And I think we ought to think about what opportunities we might have in the summer to do something. I mean, we have a big art fair the first weekend in June, and we do have the police who come and they're there present. But is there an opportunity there to do some art project between the kids and the police? I mean, those are the kinds of things that I think I keep thinking about as ways of building that engagement. And I would be willing to talk to the Webster Arts people who are doing the fair to see if there is some kind of projecty thing, if this group agreed, that we might do that would bring the police and the artistic community together. It's got to be, they're looking for kids projects to do at the art fair. So I don't know,
that's
draw your
great.
police officer. I don't know.
Right.
Would we have,
Decorate him.
yeah, would
or-
we have like a booth?
I mean, I don't know, just if it's not a booth, and people don't tend to go to those booths, but if you
Right.
have some sort of activity scheduled, on Saturday at noon, it's come and make your police badge or something that would just build again some sort of relationship.
I like it. And I think that's another aspect of our community that, that we might not always think to reach out to in this capacity, but I think it's great. Yeah.
And other summer activities we should be thinking about too, because that's a great way. The Missouri Municipal League gives out a lot of achievement awards and innovation awards, and every year there's somebody wins an award for something that the police department has done over the summer with kids, with camps or projects or whatever. This would be a good one that we could figure something out.
And hopefully with COVID, we don't know how things are going to work in this come to be this summer, but we're hoping to be able to do our church picnic rather than at a park. We're going to do it at Old Community.
Good.
So which would be wonderful. We have the police present, and I would welcome any police officer any Sunday to just stick their head in Old Community just to show their face. Would be more than welcome.
Well, your event in the fall was a blast. We had so much fun. It was perks, and I can't remember. It was the female officer. She's normal. She works in the North Webster area. That's
Jillian McCoy.
Jillian. Yeah. And she was the one playing hopscotch.
Well, we have her on video.
Yeah.
Lady Dr. Scott has her hand up.
I was just wondering, I was just thinking about when I was in school, in elementary school, we had the officer friendly program. And they would come in and do lessons with us. We got coloring books and learned a lot about police officers. And I just wondered what happened to that. And is that something maybe we could consider?
That was a part of the DARE program.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically a victim of trying to maximize their human resources. It was it was good for what you're talking about. It was good for establishing relationships with the grade school students and farming, letting them see us and interact with them. But what it wasn't good at, what its main purpose was, which was discouraging the use of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. It's all the studies show that that was not, the money that's spent on that was not cost effective. It wasn't doing its job. But at the same time, it was a good relationship builder. So we could probably do something like that. Wouldn't be the DARE program again, but we could, again, like I said, it's certainly something we can do something more of. Detective Bell is our community engagement officer, and he does a really good job with interacting not with just the community, but with kids as well. So we can certainly try and reinvigorate or reintroduce that to some degree in the elementary schools, which we have quite a few of. That's not just the school district, but the parochial schools and the private schools as well.
Okay.
All right.
Lexi has her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Lexi.
Yeah, I have a thought that is perhaps on a whole different track, but the survey was something that I was aware that the TCEB had conducted, and I just never heard anything about it. And as a communications professional, we learn about conducting surveys, and a big part of that is once you do something like that, there's usually an expectation raised in the community that there will be some kind of sharing back of what is learned. And I don't know if we've gone to the point of having analyzed the results of that survey yet, but would just appreciate knowing if we have plans for what comes next with that.
So I may not have all the most up-to-date information, but the way I interpret where we are with it is that perhaps we did not have enough feedback to feel like we really have, like, this is a survey that's really representative and is going to give us and our community good information about what thoughts and knowledge and opinion are. So I think if anybody has anything to add to that, like, that's where I kind of found that we were kind of in the early fall of last year at the last time we did our, kind of visited our survey. Am I reflecting that accurately, Kevin?
Scott beat me.
Oh, Scott.
I wasn't trying to be. I agree. I felt like we didn't have enough volume, and we were still trying to just get it out there. And that's why we've pushed the focus towards the engagement, because we realized when we were pushing the survey to the Webster University students, the survey wasn't as important as what we were hearing back from them and reflecting upon that. And we wanted to use the survey perhaps as a tool to aid our discussion moving forward, and also as an educational tool. But we just haven't had, I thought, enough results. And I really think our idea of trying to reach out to these different groups and then hand the survey out there and then get more feedback that can.
Yeah, he said what I was going to say, so I don't need to say it again.
Lexi, what are your thoughts, since, like you said, your background is in communications? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first, let me say I'm not a data analyst, so I wouldn't be able to tell you right off the bat, are there sufficient responses? There are ways to test like what's statistically relevant, but I also haven't seen the survey, so it might have been a lot more of qualitative responses anyway. I think I would be ashamed to just let it drop.
Yeah.
And I think absolutely COVID has made it more difficult, but there are so many organizations that have now found a way to transition to meeting in Zoom and the like, and perhaps through groups like our churches and PTOs and groups like that, perhaps there's a a way to distribute it more broadly. I don't know if there's a link on the PCEB site, but that's the kind of thing people have to know to come there, and so I don't
Right.
think we're going to get a big audience that way, but I just think it would be beneficial to revisit it and see what we can learn, if we can get a broader representation.
Well, we have some new members here and I'd love to see, I mean, we can update it. I mean, it's not something that can't be updated. So I think it would be a good idea, since we have, some new members with some new ideas, that maybe we can revisit it and reissue it.
Well, I think
Um,
maybe part of our agenda next time can be like Lexi and Centron, I will get you the survey so that you can take a look before the next meeting. And then I think that's right, Kevin, like, let's regroup around that. But because I agree, it's kind of, it seems, I'm a therapist, so I don't like the word shame, but I do think it would be sort of irresponsible or neglectful not to continue to follow up.
I mean, not only did we spend a lot of time putting it together, but people actually, people filled it out and they expect a response. I totally agree with Lexi.
Right. I guess, and it's useful maybe even to say, like, let's say we got 50 responses out of our whole community. We say, well, we only got 50 responses. And so we were disappointed in that, but here are what those responses, this is how they tallied, or this is what the percentages look like. But again, like you said, Eric, Kevin, we can keep going with it and we can update it if that makes sense. So, okay, another, it's, we kind of have addressed it, but I just wanted to clarify. So if we do another listening session for Webster University students, Scott, is that something that you think should be happening kind of like next fall, or should that happen, sort of at the anniversary a year later? Or what do you think of the timing for that?
Well, I think probably have to reach out to the community engagement at Webster changed over, and I think got hired by the city.
Yeah,
So we got to reestablish that connection, ask their advice, I would think. When is the best time? Because that was part of the discussion. When do they think we could get more engagement by the students to share? So I'm happy if I could chase down the name and report back to the group a discussion I could have with them and get some ideas when they think it would be a good time to have it. I would think within the year. Seems like we're going to be busy with all these different engagement opportunities here, so don't want to crowd it out.
Right. And I know that we want to talk about like the landing page, but before I move on to that, is there anything else that anybody wants to add to this part of the discussion? Lexi, I saw you just added something in the chat.
I'm guilty of a sidebar conversation. I asked Emerson if he thought that volunteers with Webster Rock Hill Ministries would be a group that would want to do a listening session with the PCEB, because they are out in the community doing such great work.
I love it. And when we get that feedback, we'll incorporate that in too. Oh, yes, he says. Okay. So volunteers with Webster Rock Hill Ministries. Okay. And then Kevin, it seems like you had
Well,
something particular.
I don't want to waste anybody's time. How many have gone out to the Police Community Engagement Board landing page on the City of Webster Grove's website? I have, Lexi has, Scott, Centron, have you been out there? Yeah, so I just wanted to briefly, and we've got, we've got 5 panelists. Our attendees. I don't know if they've seen it, but I just wanted to kind of actually share my screen and just take a peek at it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the web page, and then you go to our government. And you slide down to the boards and commissions of the city. And then you go to the Police Community Engagement Board, which is over here. And this is the link. These, I mean, it's got our statement of condemnation that we prepared last year. It's got the agendas. That I'd like to see the agendas possibly updated a little quicker if possible. It'd be good to have the minutes that once they're approved, if they can get out there a little quicker. And then, but over here, there's the enacting ordinance that you can review. But over here, there's links, okay? And these, I don't know if we can somehow make these links more noticeable. Does that make sense? That they're links? Because if you go to the police department link, it takes you to the police department section of the Webster Groves website. And if you come down here, it's got, the social media policy. It has department organization, crime reports, the weekly incident report. If you click on that, you can subscribe to it. This is the same report that gets published in the Webster Kirkwood Times, and so then you can get back to the Police Community Engagement Board directly from the police department website. You can look at the Webster Groves Police Department policies. So Dale, I don't think all the policies are out here, because there's a ton more.
The ones that are right there that include most of our policies. There are some that I've given you that aren't up here, but
right.
It's fairly comprehensive. If anything you want, you can find in here. And again, it's a lot of information. So you would really have to go through a lot of pages to get everything on it.
Right.
Again, the ones with the code of conduct, the code of ethics and use of force are the ones that most people are interested in. And again, I kind of like to go over that ground again, just briefly for the new members at some point. There's no big hurry on it, but I think it's important at least to give people a background on why it is we do things and why we have the policies that we have.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, it would be good for us to hear again too. And then, if you use your back arrow up here at the top, then, I mean, you can look at all the weekly incident reports. And then if you come down here, then you can get back to the Police Community Engagement Board directly from the police department website. So, I don't know if it would be useful during one of our engagements to show and tell how you get to this and how you get to the police department website and how you can get to certain bits of information so that people feel as if they're comfortable in navigating through to get to this information that they might be interested in. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the issue of transparency has come up many times when we've been out in the community. And I think that's a great piece of transparency and just like you were saying, Kevin, like engagement. This is a very easy way to help people, use this website and know that this is transparent for them. So anyway, I think that's a great idea. And Scott, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I think along those lines, there's, and what Lexi was suggesting is awareness of we're doing the survey is there visible, they can download it and get it, and fill it out and send it in, and maybe some statement, what has been done based on what we have learned from the survey. And also saying some of the things we feel we've accomplished so far. in those discussions around the LPRs and other things, and trying not to be too aggressive on certain stops, and trying to de-escalate those situations. What has been done, what has been accomplished. It would be nice to see that really put out there.
Right. I agree.
That's my thought.
Yep. Well, and the other thing too, is we were talking about contact us, I don't know if we call it something else. But we were talking about not emailing directly to Chief Curtis, but sending it to Katie. And then Katie forwards any emails she gets to the board members. And if we don't all get to review them and we don't have time, if we get a bunch, then we look and then we make a decision and say, okay, we need to divvy them out and then report back. This is what we read. These are the comments that have been received. But that way people don't feel, I mean, there were some people, that felt it was a little intimidating to email Chief Curtis on a complaint, or an issue that occurred, and that was brought up on several different occasions. So, but this is, I think we need to maybe add some stuff that Scott was saying in here on what we've done, clean this up a bit, and then show and tell, literally show and tell when we have an engagement meeting. It's real easy on Zoom. I mean, you saw how fast it can be done. That we can go through and just kind of point people in the right direction. Sometimes people don't use this stuff because they don't know how to get to it. Even though it's very, it's not difficult for me because I do this every day, all day, but for some people it's not. So we want to try to make it as easy as we can for people to get to the information that they're interested in looking at. I'm done.
But, Mayor and Lexi, I don't know who had their hand up first.
Well, all I'm going to say is that I think it would be very beneficial if we had an annual report of the activities, so that you ended up with a one-page report that talked about what you had accomplished over the year. Because otherwise you get in the agenda and you see what the agenda is, but whoever brought that up, it's a good idea to say, these are the 5 things that we accomplished this year, and then you can put that on that page, and it's an easy, quick update. So sorry, Lexi, I just broke in.
No, not at all. I have a question and a suggestion. Question is, we mentioned it has a heading that says members, but then it describes who's members, and we don't actually list them anywhere. And I didn't know if that was because of privacy concerns. I know I personally wouldn't have a problem with my name being listed up there, but I do know there are also issues of like government accountability and sunshine. Like, we can't have people emailing us personally, right? I understand that. But I think it would just be helpful for people to know that their neighbors and colleagues and business owners are participating on it. So it's a form of transparency to maybe list the members on it. Now I've forgotten what my other question was. Oh, I remember. I was thinking that, yeah, it's a lot of work, I'm sure, to put together like what that report is of like, here's what we accomplished. But just being in communications once a year is pretty infrequent.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if there are a way that maybe a subcommittee could help put something like that together and maybe do it on a quarterly basis, or maybe at least twice a year, but just as a communications professional, that would be something I'd recommend.
Don't do it.
Probably twice a year would be sufficient. Quarterly would be a little difficult because we meet monthly, and it takes a while because we're all volunteers. it takes a while for things to actually occur to report on, if that makes sense. So probably, but semi-annually, I think would be great.
That absolutely makes sense.
I agree. And I mean, I know we'll have the minutes from this meeting, but I have kind of a list of, next month's agenda items, action items, kind of like ongoing business. And I'll send out kind of a summary email in the next couple of days to everybody so you can see and then add to it if I've missed something. So hopefully that'll be helpful. I guess a question that I had was about, I mean, Kevin, I think you're really right about that landing page and making those edits. Who makes those edits? How do we make that happen?
Jennifer.
Jennifer? So
Yeah.
Kevin, do you want to, I mean, just in the sort of like, I don't know if it's appropriate, but do you want to put together edits to our landing page and then send them to Jennifer?
No, I think, well, I think it needs to be a group of us. I mean, I don't think it needs to be one. It can't be one individual. But I think that Lexi's got a really good idea that it could be a subcommittee that we could get together, 2 or 3 of us. And if we got together 2 or 3 of us, then we wouldn't be violating the sunshine law. So, so I think that maybe, a group of us could get together and do it. Come up with ideas and then present it back.
Okay.
Kevin and Katie, if I might, the excuse me, Jennifer Starkey is the new public affairs person, and she is rebranding the website, so it's going to change. And I think she's taking over a lot of the entries that Jennifer used to do.
Okay.
So maybe let me touch base with her and with Jennifer and see what the appropriate thing to do is, and then let me get back. I email you, get back to you what it is that we need to do to maybe try and get that accomplished. I'm not sure what she can do or is going to do, but I do know that the websites they're getting ready to roll out a new website very shortly.
Good, thanks.
Then Tom
Okay.
has his hand up.
Yeah,
Centron, yes.
newbie question. So, and I'd been to the landing page, but I didn't know we call it the landing. So, in terms of branding and who we are and what we do, how was it rolled out? Do people know? Do people know why they wouldn't need to go to our page and look for us to contact us? Especially the people that need to know the most, which is probably not the majority of the people that know. You know what I mean? If you understand that. So the people that
Yes.
really would need someone to engage on their behalf, or not that that's our role, but just to be able to communicate about something that's occurred. How do they know that we exist and where and that they should go or can go to the website?
So I think that's a really good question. And that is, I think that is one of our biggest challenges is like actually our public relations as a board, and we have talked about at different times, but have not moved forward with getting an article or something in the Webster Kirkwood Times, I think would be helpful. And then, I mean, I think this is a good point, Centron. If people don't even know that this is something that they could or should look at, then, what good is it? So, I mean, that would be another piece of business, I think, for us this year would be, when we think about engaging with community groups, I like the sort of like grassroots piece of that, of like, we're going to the community, we're talking to individual people or groups of people. But then we do need to communicate on sort of this level also. And that's kind of what you're talking about. So that's something that we need to move forward with as well.
Just had a question. I always notice the sign at City Hall when it says upcoming meetings, different groups that are meeting. Does the Police Community Engagement Board session get listed on that?
Yes,
Does it just say PCEB or does it actually spell it out?
It's spelled out today.
Yay! Okay, thank you.
All right, and I did notice we've had some chat and kind of thoughts, suggestions, ideas from Dave Buck has been brainstorming like crazy on our I guess I just want to make sure, has everybody gotten a chance to take a look at some of that?
yeah, and it'd be a good idea for him to send that information to, I mean, I mean, I know Dave, so if he can send it straight to Chief Curtis is gonna get it to us. I mean, if he has any ideas like that, he sent them out before. So, I mean, he sent them to my PCEB email. So the other thing is, we did establish a PCEB Gmail account so that anything to do with the PCEB goes to that Gmail account. And that helps to make sure that if there is ever a sunshine request, that they don't request your entire personal email. Okay, so it's a good idea to establish, like mine is kspceb@gmail.com. So it's a good idea to establish that, and that's why we did it.
If you would, excuse me, if you would let me know if you change your, when you change your Gmail to PCEB, so that I can get you on the group list. Otherwise, I'll be sending them out to your personal emails.
Kevin, thanks for pointing that out. That is an important point.
Yeah, I just forgot all about it until now, so.
Yep. Is there anything else anybody would like to add? Things we haven't touched on that would be important for tonight?
We covered a
Okay.
lot.
We did cover a lot. Well,
Great
thanks
meeting.
everybody. Thanks, everybody. Okay, well then, do I need to have somebody to move to adjourn the meeting?
I just want to say one thing. You know what, Katie, for someone who doesn't want to do this chair's job, you sure do a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. You know that I think when I am in a meeting, the thing I like is when we move through the agenda.
You're
So
good at that.
that's what I'm thinking. So anyway,
agree.
thanks, Mayor. Thank you. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
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 Okay, thanks, everybody. We'll see you. Gosh, what's the next one? February 20. What is it? 2022?
Where's my calendar?
22, I think, 22. I think it's 22, 22, 3,
Okay.
4, 5. Yeah, I think it's 22.
Okay, and I will send
Yeah,
like a summary of
Yep.
this meeting in the next couple of days.
All right, thank-
Okay.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everyone. All
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Stay
Have a great
healthy,
evening.
everybody.
right, have a good month.
Bye.
All right.